Hello, welcome to another analysis video. Today I'm going to talk about the recent Hampstead under 2200, which was literally the weekend just gone on the 25th of November. I want to clear something up straight away as to why it's under 2200 and not an open, and it's literally because of the time control. I didn't know this. I asked a question because I keep going to these things and I wasn't even slightly suspicious. I just thought Adam hated anyone above 2200 and 2200 upwards, which on reflection is a bit extreme. So basically, it's because the time control is you get 60 minutes each plus 30-second increment, which is the fastest time control you can have for a slow FIDE rating. Okay, you with me? And weirdly, it's rating capped. So if the only way you can make it an open is to make the minimum. I think he said it was 90 minutes plus 30 seconds. So that's why it's an under 2200 if you're ever wondering. I did a quick walk-in video as usual. This was a quick one because you've seen the venue. So I'll just tell you I'll show you the video because it was just my thoughts just before the game started. As usual, just bear with for a second.
Good morning. Gosh, it's brisk today. I'm outside the Hampstead under 2200 once more. I've checked the pairings this morning. Seems I've got a nice easy game. I've got the second seed to start off with. But I'm white, so that gives me a good chance, I guess. Yeah, probably. Not sure what to expect today. Should be good. Bump into some old friends as usual. I'll do some name drops, no doubt, during the video analysis. Of course, I need to have at least an interesting game. I've got 3 chances today to get an interesting game, so fingers crossed for that. But I'll talk to you all soon. Thanks.
Ultra professional there, as you see. I closed the wrong window. Such a passer. Anyway, so I actually only played 2 games. I don't generally play the third game because, from experience, it's just too much. I know my opponent would also have played 3 games, but I don't know. I always feel when I lose that third game, if I lose that third game, it always feels a lot worse. So I just did the first 2, and they're interesting enough to talk about. Not specifically great play from me, but well, you'll see, and I'll talk through each one. So we'll go into the first game. This was indeed against the second seed. It was 21, 64, 65, something like that. So he's pretty good. I think his ECF's about 200 or something. But we have no fear of these people because we are playing them constantly now. So we know that they make mistakes just like everyone else. But I did take a little bit of advice on board on this game. I didn't play as wild as perhaps I can, as you've seen in previous games, but well, you'll see. I'll talk you through the opening and why I decided to play what I decided to play. So I mean, it's very unlikely I'm not going to play e4. So those are looking me up. It's likely I'm going to play e4. So Sicilian, and I'm obviously hoping for an open Sicilian. It's my favourite kind of position, semi-open positions. But he plays knight c6. Now, knight c6 is very flexible. It doesn't mean he's trying to play the Shevnikov, though obviously that is a main line. He could play the accelerated dragon too, just to show you a couple of lines where the game could have gone. So here we have the accelerated dragon, which is a tough opening, and I'm sure I'll come across that in my year of game analysis. So we'll come across that, and I'll talk about it later. I'm not always going to play what I played against this guy. It's just I've got to experiment too, see how I play in more solid positions. This leads to potentially crazy games depending on if I play c4 or not. The other one, of course, is there's a couple here. You can even play e5 straight away, which is a bit of a bizarre opening, but it's playable, and you've got a few choices here. You've got knight here. Funny enough, though, I thought it was busted. You can play knight here. There's a guy at the 4NCL was showing me a line that actually knight f5 isn't as bad as you think. You can also just drop back, and the point is he's always got a backward d pawn for you to play against. Or you could go main line here, and this could even go into I think it's called a Rogozin or something. I can't remember the exact name of these Richarosa, something like that. I can't pronounce anything in chess. I mean, I can't say Mokrazi Bind, Maroxy Bind, whatever it's called. I don't know. And you can also play e5 here as well. So those are the openings that I didn't really fancy playing against. I just I've got a second option. I mean, I can even play bishop b5 straight away here as well, and then we go into Rosalimo, I think it is. Probably mispronounced again. And what I do play, it's a bit like a Rosalimo. It's just a delayed one, because I want to see what he wants to do first. So I played... Sorry. Oh, come on. Yep, I didn't play that. I played knight c3. Now, this is just flexible. It can easily still transpose into those main lines. I just want to see what pawn push he decides on, and then go from there. And he actually played one I haven't played against before, though I understand this because I get this as black in certain openings. And you're basically aiming for this kind of sell up. At some point, you're going to play f5, which, I mean, it's a bit of a spoiler, but does happen. But it's it's a standard plan for black, and it can be hard to meet. The downside of playing e5 is, of course, this diagonal is a little bit weaker because normally there's a pawn on e6, stopping your bishop being that powerful. It can get kicked around very easily from here, but you get to play a4, etc., etc. I mean, which is a plan which I didn't choose. I chose a slightly different plan because of playing crazy chess recently. I wanted to go for a simplistic plan, and the simplistic plan was literally I'm going to swap the light square bishop for one of his knights and stick all my pawns on white squares, and just hopefully outplay him with a very good dark square bishop, and hopefully a knight in d5 that'd be very difficult to challenge. That was my strategy. So he's stopping the take. If I take now, he can just take back with the knight, which I'm not fussed because I was always giving up this bishop for that. As I say, the other plan would have definitely been for me to have played a4 here, and if he played a6, and then I can at least sit on this potentially very dangerous diagonal. But I'd already pre-planned to play what I was going to play, so this would have been changing my mind midway through the game, which is probably not a good idea. Though, just looking at this position, it looks quite tasty. I mean, like I say, this is definitely something. I mean, maybe this knight's maybe a little bit misplaced. Perhaps we can get in the old classic. Oh, I'm just going to bash her up on f7. It's, a little bit of a pipe dream, but it's going to be difficult for him to play d5 in this position, which he'd love to play. So potentially this would have been a better way of going. But as I said, I'd already pre-planned to play a more cagey game just to see if I can. And there's definitely nothing wrong with just castling here. I want to make that clear. It's just a different way of playing. So he kicks the bishop. Now asks me the question, what am I going to do? I don't have a big choice here. I mean, I can't come back to here because it's just a big waste of time because of b5 coming. And if I drop back, which is never happening, obviously, he just plays c4 and traps my bishop. So the other plan would be just to simply drop the bishop back to e2 here. But there's no point. Like I said, I put my bishop there for a reason, and the computer doesn't hate it either. Just taking, it's okay. Still, opening edge for white as usual. He's jumping around a little bit, but it's about 0.4 for white here, which is fine. It's a different plan. See, it's interesting because this also was 0.4 with the bishop along this line. So it just shows you that you can go a little bit different in the opening. You're not forced to go down certain lines. Now the plus side, as I say, is that I will have a very good knight in here. So that goes without saying. The knight goes in. Um, that allows the bishop out. That stops bishop coming here, because if he ever does manage to get his bishop here, perhaps he's going to also drop his knight in, and it just becomes a little bit awkward for me. So I just stopped that straight away. I was certainly not bothered about him potentially swapping off his light square bishop for my knight, because then this bishop will be behind dark square pawn, so it's a preferable bad bishop. So he plays bishop e7. I mean, I was talking to my friend Nick, who was also at the tournament. He's a very strong player. He used to be 2274, so he got very close to being a FIDE master. And he actually won the tournament. He had a little bit of a slip up on the Sunday morning, but he bounced back. So he beat 2100 players, so around his rating. So he gained rating points. I think he gained 14 points in the end. But he was telling me, but Black's got the bishop pair. But at the whole time, I mean, I'm not I'm not debating that. I mean, it's true, he does have the bishop pair, but I can always take off this bishop, and I control the squares that the bishop may want to go to. Now, as I've just mentioned, it's not, in my eyes, it's not potentially a good bishop yet, because it's behind these dark square bishops. There's no need for me to get rid of my good knight for his. But long story short, he hasn't got the bishop pair if I can take one of the bishops whenever I like. That's the way I see it. You know, you can discuss that with me in chat if you want. But that's just a developer move. You know, looking to castle, play f5. C3, yeah, because obviously my main plan here is to try and power through the middle if I can. That's bog standard plan, really. Also, it's just, C3 is useful because now his knight can't come into D4 ever at the moment. So it's a useful move. It's a I'll stop your knight move, and also at some point I better get on with it, because I would like to win a game. I'm not just going to sit there, hopefully, and see what happens, you know, and get crushed like people do against better players. You should always at least try to be active. And that may go wrong for me later on. I'm not saying anything yet. But f5, okay. So here, to be honest, I wasn't expecting f5 at this point. I thought he'd castle first, then play f5. And here I'm like thinking, oh, has he made a mistake? And you know, I'm thinking he hasn't. So through my analysis, thinking over the board, I was looking at this line, and I got a little bit worried about it, to be honest. And then I really wanted to play d4, because you know, if I can open up while his king's still in the center, you know, swing the rook over. I should be doing quite well. But then I got really panicky about him just pushing the pawn, and I was a bit like, well, this knight's no longer supported. Not sure where this knight should go. I mean, ooh. Instantly, the computer's thrown up rook e1, which is an idea I was thinking about, but I just didn't think it worked, because I thought he could just take. Because I haven't got enough on here, because he's defending the bishop with the knight. This is where computers will always destroy you. So if he takes the knight, what did I have? Just knight takes e7 anyway. Wow, this would be interesting. And then obviously knight takes. Is it that simple? Well, you see, chess sometimes, I mean, that is really basic tactics, to be honest. But I didn't feel that I could get my pieces there that quickly. But as you can see, I mean, that's just, he can't defend that knight, can he? So my instincts were right to play d4, but my calculating ability not good enough. Which, you know, you've seen other videos, I suffer for this a lot. So that's very interesting, because here I was just thinking, oh, where do I put my knight? And I was thinking, I don't really want to play it here, I don't want to play it here. Yeah, that's interesting. So d4 is actually a good idea. Okay, well, that's good. I mean, I'm gonna get used to this. This is why I was saying he should have castled before playing f5. I mean, he's not busted here. That's my best move, which I was worried about. But ooh, I mean, the computer is saying just take here. And well, what happens if I just? Oh, then it just says take on e7 anyway. But okay, this is what I would have played almost definitely. So let's see where this goes. And then it says castle. Okay, so this position really isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I was as overtly scared of e4, which, as I said, if my knight moves anywhere, I look really discombobulated. My knight on d5 is just hanging on. Thinking I know I can just swap it for the bishop at all points, which in these kind of positions I would, because the position's becoming open. So I saw a little bit of a ghost there. That's a bit of a shame, because that would have been way more active than what I played. I remember I was just saying I want to be active. So this isn't so great. Well, my move's solid. I play against the Sleeman a lot in the Roy Lopez, and d3 is an absolutely okay move. It's very solid. If he takes, I'm actually going to get a very nice position. This is what I saw. Takes, and then I've always got a big target here. He's never going to allow this, to be honest. I'll just pile up bishop d3, queen somewhere, rook d1. I've got a big target. I can always take the biggest defender of the pawn off the board. So, that's just a really nice Sicilian position for white. So he's never going to take. So he just castled, which is definitely best. But like I say, perhaps he should have castled before to avoid e takes f. I think he felt a lot safer in his position than maybe he should have. And I could see that. Do you know what I mean? This is what's frustrating. When a computer shows you a line, you go, well, yeah, that was fairly obvious. But when you sit there and bored and you're a bit nervous, and I don't know, it becomes a little bit more of a challenge. So he castles. I still want to play d4. I just want to line up rook with his bishop at some point, because I can see the pawns being cleared away. Potentially I want to attack this one as well. So he plays his king out of the way. Safety move. I understood this. In a few lines, I potentially had a queen check to win the b pawn if he casually just developed his bishop. I could just, well, not obviously bishop there would actually be fine because he'd cover the check. But say he I don't know, very casually played bishop d7. I don't know why he ever would, but the point is I could always just take hit. Yeah, and then the queen check would win a pawn. I mean, in a few lines the check's probably really annoying, so he prophylactically moved his king out of the way, which is fine because I have to do that in the Dutch all the time. So totally appreciate that move, and it's not a bad move, even slightly. Just do it, get it out of the way, save all trouble. Now here I blunder, unfortunately. I've got to say, I saw this tactic really early on after he played f5. Is the fact that if you've played h3, obviously the light square bishop is lined up, and so is the rook. So you got, the whole time I'm like, oh, it doesn't matter because my queen's defending the knight. So I blunder quite badly here. Not that one. That would have been better. I got a little bit carried away with a plan on g5, which sort of happens anyway. But it was, it's bad. You shouldn't just give away pawns. So I blunder here, queen d2, and he plays the obvious move. Thank you very much. Obviously, if I take, he takes the knight. So that's no good. So you're wondering why I blundered, but the point is I got trapped in a plan, and yeah, you have to move. I mean, at the end of the day, look, I'll just go back to the position just before I play queen d2. It's not obvious. I haven't got any obvious moves here. Considering what my plan was, and I know this sounds crazy, potentially I could swap off the dark square bishop here because I want to start causing trouble on g5. I'm not sure how much trouble I'm going to cause, but I definitely can cause more without the bishop defending it. As I previously said, the position can quite potentially get open now. Probably more safe to take now, and in the position is open, then the two bishops will probably pay dividends. And as I say, all my plan is I could take there and then at least get my bishop out for free, right? Computer's not saying that's the best plan; it's saying it's a plan. Computer just likes bishop d2, but that, I mean, what's it doing for one? Yes, it develops the piece and it clears the back rank, so all I'd have to do is play queen e2 potentially. But for me, I don't know what it's doing. I mean, am I going to be playing c4 and try and get the bishop onto c3? I mean, it just doesn't look right. Maybe am I trying to play b4 here? I don't know. It just doesn't seem like a natural plan. So I was actually struggling for ideas, except for this G5 idea, which I'm obviously going to go through in a second. Um, so potentially for this G5 idea, I should have just literally taken this bishop and then just, as I say, play bishop G5, and then it's like a level. It's still a level position, but it's one with play in it. What I did just blunders a pawn, but when it happened, my heart actually, for a change, and this is where I think I'm getting somewhere, didn't sink that far, because okay, I've lost a pawn, but it's a H pawn, and I can see that there's going to be a few lines where, well, actually his queen can't come in. So I go straight in with the knight, gain time on the bishop, control E6 for a brief amount. Obviously you can't go there because just take it. So he swaps it off, says, oh yeah, I got rid of my bad dark square bishop, blah blah blah. But now the queen's come off because the bishop is attacked still, and I can take his queen. So the point is, he has to save the bishop, so I get to take his queen. And I've noted in the position, this is why I wasn't so disheartened. Is one, it was only a H pawn. Two, he still has a backward D pawn. That's not going anywhere. Three, and this is really, really reaching, we have opposite colour bishops. So if everything comes off the board, I've held opposite colour bishop endings 2-3 pawns down. I'm sure you all have. So I'm not as pessimistic as you may think. And this knight still can't come into a good square. C3 is doing a good job. So, optimally speaking, this point, even though he's won a clear pawn, as in, like, he took a pawn, the computer's even backing me up. It's saying it's 0.2 here for black. So there's no need to panic. I mean, obviously, my opening's not gone well because as white, you should really be pushing for an edge. But I showed you where I went wrong. I mean, like, D4 was, it's a move I really wanted to play, but I just couldn't work it out, and I thought I was just losing. So you don't play moves when you just think you're going to be losing. But it's an idea stored away. I'm sure I will come to a similar position in my life in chess. So he saves the bishop. I take the queen. He takes the knight, which actually possibly is best. It looks a bit ugly, but the knight can come back to f7, maybe defend d6. I mean, it's a bit negative, but even then, the knight could just come back. And the knight could just come back to c6 if he wants as well. So it's really not that bad. I guess naturally it would make more sense to take the rook, but I think he was worried about potentially, there's quick blunders here. If you take with this rook, then you just lose. So, and even the other rook, I can see why he took with a knight. Just a little bit uncomfortable. If he takes with the other rook, then where was I going to go? I think I was still going to go. Oh yeah, this way I was just going to develop my bishop with Tempe. Either or, I mean this, and then I'm out and I'm feeling okay basically. I'm just going to double up the rooks on the D file. I've gained time. I control a square where he can't get another rook, so he can't double up his rooks in defense. Not that he'd want to because it's really passive. But this is a nice position for white. So taking with a knight was understandable. Now here I rushed a little bit, I've got to say, because I've got to be thinking, okay, I'm a pawn down, but I actually feel pretty good because I still have an easy target. And if you've got a target and a plan or slash plan in chess, you just feel a lot better. It's when you're not sure what to do. Like when I played Queen D2 as a blunder, I wasn't really sure, and of course the next move I blunder silly blunder. So here I'm playing fairly confidently, and I'm thinking, well, if I get rid of this light square bishop, then there's the potential for him to play D5 lessens quite a lot. Plus, it's a very good light square bishop because it's on the right colour squares for his pawn centre, etc., etc. So I've got to say, I played this a bit too keen. I'm going to play this. Talking to Nick afterwards, as I say, he's a very strong player. He was saying knight b6, and I agree. I do agree. And possibly a little bit more hard work on my part, I would have also found it. I mean, he's never going to put his rook here, so whoops, here on a7 because it's just a bad move. So pretty much forced to go to b8. And then we were talking about just develop the bishop now. And the point being, I've slightly misplaced his rook. I'm threatening a fork at some point. Now I can get on with the same plan, literally the same plan, just bringing the rook over. Either or doesn't really matter, and build up. And it now he's a little bit more awkward to get back into position, and I'm still controlling d5. So just what we were discussing is you got to give your opponent more options to go wrong. Where I played quite simply and actually made it fairly easy for my opponent because I gave him forcing moves. So I went with knight c7. And you're thinking, oh yeah, but you've helped his knight. But the knight doesn't really have that many squares, which I'm going to show very shortly. Let me play on a few more moves. Attack the pawn, so he has to defend d6. He does. I get my bishop out finally. Note how I control the knight's movements for now. I could just swap, so the bishop's actually better than the knight currently. So he brings the king over. This is obviously a very good idea. And nothing I can do to stop it, just like he can't stop me doing this. So, king coming over to defend. Okay, so, he's a pawn up. And he's defended d6 fairly well. But, how do you win this position? He's not a pawn up over here. Nope, because I've got 2 pawns there. He's a pawn up where he can't push a pawn. So, I've got very good chances of, at least, well, hopefully hold a draw. So I'm quite happy. The biggest thing I'm going to take from this game, regardless of the result of it, is that I didn't collapse after losing a pawn. And people that have met me in real life and seen me play in FIDE tournaments before, which is why my FIDE is so low, will attest to my lack of fighting ability when I'm losing. But this year, no. This year I'm going to really go for it. Try very hard to just take the smallest positives from the positions. So I play a sensible move. This is literally just to stop the knight coming to his his best square, basically. Also, I've noted in the position that, okay, his king is defending quite nicely here, but at some point, there's always this little trick. So his knight's a little bit tied down to this square. So he starts taking space, which is fair enough. And all I was hoping here was that he was going to leave one of these 2 weak. And partially the reason of g3, apart from controlling this square, is to nab my king up and potentially attack down the h-file and try and nab it. Because if I can nab one of these pawns, I might even be better. That's hopeful thinking, but you need to be positive. That's something I'm definitely learning, even when you make silly blunders. So that's all king g2 is to start maybe potentially. I don't know how to do it in this position, but if I could double up on the h-file now, then perhaps I'm attacking on 2 fronts. But there's a few too many pieces in the way. I've got illusions of, they are illusions, but maybe playing f5, king f3, and then I've got a highway for my rooks. So I had that in mind as I was playing king g2. h5, fair enough. I attack the h-pawn. It's not defended. Why not? I can drag a rook away from defending d6. Now, part of the reason, of course, he can defend this way. This, I mean, this is possibly not the best plan, but I really, really, really want to make this dark square bishop a better piece. And at the moment, this rook is doing a really healthy job, and this knight on this pawn. I really want to play b4, and I wanted to play b4 when I played rook h1. But at the moment, I need to distract him from defend. Well, defending is a strong word. But yeah, I guess it is. Distract this rook from defending that pawn. So he actually buys into my plan, which is nice. There is a slightly better move coming up, which I will say. So I've come back. Obviously now, if he brings his rook back again, then repetition. Great. I'm a pawn down. I'll take a draw against the 2160 whatever. 200 ECF. Yep. Thank you very much. So no. So I've managed to drag his rook away from c5. Now what he could have played here, if he knew what was coming, was rook c6. But again, it's not obvious what I'm going to try and do. Though, to be fair, I mean, what else was I doing? Maybe he just thought I was just playing around my rooks. I don't know. But this would stop what I'm just about to play completely. But he doesn't play that. He plays rook over, which is a really natural move. The other downside of playing your rook to c8 is that you no longer defend this rook, so potentially I can come back here again, and I don't know. which way round I can do it. But maybe I can just take when he pushes the pawn or pawn up. Though I have to be careful with this square. But I'll come to that in more detail in a minute. So I play b4, which is I'm trying to be active. I'm trying to make my my good piece even better. And this annoys me a little bit because a couple of times in the weekend, not just in the games that I played on Saturday, because I played a separate tournament on Sunday, but I'll come to that in another video. Is to play as actively as possible. Hang on. And sorry. And basically, I come up with ideas and I play them in the wrong order. And I know you guys are guilty of that too. You have the right idea, but you don't execute it in the correct order. Now, this is a perfect example of that because it throws away my second to last chance to make this position equal. Now, b4 was a good strategy because it's active, and as I say, I'm going to make my bishop better. And he didn't buy into the danger of the position at all. Now, this is where I made a mistake. Now, don't get me wrong, I saw the combination, and this combination ends up making it level, like 0-0-0, which is obviously fantastic. And I could still mess it up. And I knew I was going to get great play for this, but like, I didn't. I don't know. I think it's a rush of blood, and you just gotta work it out properly both ways. Now, the point is, I'm all over these pawns here, and it's suggesting itself. And I'll play the move because that's the move I play. And now if I take, this is gone, pretty much, because that knight can't defend everything because I've still got the bishop on this pawn as well. So that's pretty much level game. And even now, like I'm still it's 0.58. I know some people have complained about me using computers, but I'm just trying to give you an example of what the situation is. And what annoys me is I saw this position. I just told you the threats, and I just take here and happy days. So why didn't I just do that first? I mean, then I don't give him the option of what, because he got out of it, and I'll show you that shortly. But this is just such a nice position now. There we go. Exactly what I just said. I'm on every single pawn that you want to talk about. And it's a level game. And I've got exactly what I wanted. I played actively to get a position where I can hold. I mean, I could still lose. He's very good. I'm sure he'd play around a little bit. But that's dangerous in itself because perhaps I would spank him. It could happen. And I had the right plan and executed it wrong. Because I pushed the rook first, he can just take. And it's just so silly. When he did that, I sat back in my chair and I was just like, what's the point of coming up with these good ideas if you're not then going to play the right move order? But we'll just hope that I learn from this. And if I play enough games, by law of averages, I'll actually play it the right way around. But I'm not lost. Not yet. But now I must say I feel a little bit more deflated because obviously after seeing that, I was like, oh, that does sort of take away all my fun. Okay, I've still increased my bishop scope, but the whole point of rook d5 is to put him really under the cosh, and he plays pretty perfectly from here on end, so I'm not going to spend masses of time on this because I'd like to get into the second game. So he pushes the h pawn, fair enough. I played bishop e6 because I want to basically, well, I remember the rook's still defending this pawn, so he's pretty much forced to do this move. And then I was thinking, well, now that rook's not defended, happy days. He can't push because I'll take it, and he can't take because I'll take his rook. So I was thinking, yeah, this is still okay for me. Great move. Just because this square, you see, it's really annoying. Like, obviously you're thinking, oh yeah, great. I'll take with the pawn or the rook. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Either or, both lose to this cheapo. Oops. And then smack. And both ways lose the same way, so I'm not going to go through the other line. So g4, very good move. Like I say, all these moves are perfect here, unfortunately. I never get back into the game, so I am going to whiz through a tiny bit. I try to get a little bit of activity. Note that I'm no longer controlling... oops. Note that I'm no longer controlling g5 because the bishop's on b6, so that's going to be an issue, and a pass pawn to boot. I tried to get active. He wins another pawn. I'm trying to take the a6 pawn. He defends it. I can't remember exactly why I played that move. I think I was just a bit concerned about checks on the back rank, but I don't even know why, because the bishop on e3 controls c1. Perhaps I was worried about... No, I don't even know. I don't know. Ghost again. Or literally, there's not a lot I can do. But then I stumbled across, okay, well, I can still attack his a pawn. So I attack his a pawn. He pushes the a pawn. I attack his b pawn. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to get 2 passed pawns of my own on the queen side. This is clinical what he does to me. Obviously, he's attacking f2. I try to defend. He brings rook over, and I resign because there's nothing that I can do here. I'm just completely busted. Computer's mate in 11. I didn't see the mate in 11, but you don't need to see that. This is just death, followed by whatever you like, really. It's just over. So it was a good game. I could have done better. I didn't. So let me just check to see how long this is, because I might have to do a separate video. How long has this been going on for? Alright, I'm not going to spend too long on the second game either, to be honest. I'll try and get both games in. So let me quickly load it up. Bear with. Hampstead game 2. And this game again, I mean, I had a good opening, and then it goes a little bit wrong in the middle, and I get a lot worse. But, as I said, my new thing is fighting chess patzer. And I'm not just giving people easy points, because I bungle it when I'm 2 pawns up, so why can't other people? So I was black here, so if I can reverse the board. I'm going to whiz a little bit through the opening. This is something for Carl as well, because Carl recently lost to a similar line very quickly, so I just want to give him the idea for the opening. There's a Dutch. I mean, gosh, like I say, I reckon I could write a book or a DVD after this, because the amount of Dutches I'm getting is great. I love the Dutch. The people as well. So yeah, so this classical Dutch, not really, I've talked about this before. Now, I don't always play a5. There's lots of ways to play this. I'm not going to give away every single opening that I'm going to play, because at some point someone will test me and they will look it up, and I'll have a lot harder game than I normally do. My opponent's an 11-year-old. He's only 1700 FIDE, and his ECF is 135. So I didn't know that before the game, and he plays really well. So I'm not taking away anything from him. You know, if you're 11, you're probably improving fast. And there's always something a little bit unnerving about seeing a tiny child opposite you when you're a full grown man. But this is the line that my friend Carl recently got bashed in. He said his opponent played Queen B3, and he just got slaughtered. So I was funny enough, a little bit nervous about this, because when we briefly chatted about it, we were suggesting just play knight h5 and worry the bishop, but I guess the bishop just drops back to d2, and then does your knight drop back? I don't really want to draw against a lower rated player if I can help it. Though funny enough, well, that comes later. But let me skip on a bit. I came up with this. And this is the idea, Carl. It's basically, I couldn't put the knight anywhere else. Knight c6, I'm just going to get kicked around by d5. And I do have an outpost here briefly. I mean, he could play a3, waste a little bit of time. But that's not the point of this move. This move will make sense very shortly. So, Carl, have a look at this knight a6 for this particular reason. Typical Dutch, white wants to play e4. So I hit him with c5. And I think this is a playable position for black against this bishop f4. It's quite tricky here. If he pushes, you push, you've just got a level position, which is awesome for black in literally 10 moves. So that's natural. The best move in the position is actually a slight compromise, e3, so there's no e4, so you just drop your knight in. Again, you've got an okay position. And then you got what my opponent actually played, which again gave me a level position. So Carl, have a look at knight a6 and c5. Thank you very much. I'm covering a lot of squares. A5 is very useful here. There's no b4 to kick the knight. So I will motor on a little bit, but let's just say that black's absolutely okay here. And it's nothing to do with the opening as to why I got myself into a lot of trouble. I got into trouble because of my middle game options. So queen c2. Knight in perhaps is a little bit premature. It's still level here, but maybe I'm just swapping pieces. E5 is definitely an option. I'm not sure it's best. I mean, this is okay. But I simplify a little bit too much here, which limits my options, and I've got to stop doing that. I've got to come up with more options in the game, and that's definitely what I was discussing with Nick, is about making moves that cause more options. I wish we had the conversation before the tournament started. He's taken with the bishop because I'm just going to play e5 and gain time on the bishop otherwise. If he takes with the queen. I'm always playing e5. It's just a standard plan in the Dutch. I have a slight issue with this square, which is partly the reason why I play what I play in a minute. Bishop d5 check is actually a good move here. So is bishop c3. It's fine. Putting your bishop on a better diagonal. Now, queen b6 was a little bit superficial. I'm aiming for this, which is like, you know, caveman attack. Also, I'm defending this pawn so that my bishop can move. But there's probably better moves. I've got to say, my imagination wasn't brilliant at this stage. I did realise that, you know, the positions, it's an odd position because there's no obvious pawn breaks for black. Like, I can't play f4 or anything like that here. Now, sensible would probably just go here. And the reason I didn't go there is because I just thought he'd check and hold on to the pawn anyway. And I was trying to get a bishop to e6 quickly. So, in one way, I sort of convinced him that f2 was weak, and it's not really. But he defends it. He's still doing fine here, and I get my bishop to e6. So, as far as I'm concerned, opening early middle game's gone okay. But it's an edge for white because his pieces are just slightly better than mine, especially my dark square bishop. So he defends the pawn. I'm not 100% convinced how I'm gonna do that. I need to get my queen out of the way. Maybe I'll just bring it back and then play b5, and perhaps I'll get something down the c file. That's what I was thinking. I mean, even I was discussing with Adam, the organizer, maybe even playing a4 at some point was probably going to be a good idea, because this pawn is weak, and he'll just have to allow the exchange, and then maybe I attack the b pawn. But this is all targeted at d5, and I really don't want him just to sit loads of pieces on d5 if he gets his bishop in, and I probably have to take. Whoops, have to take, and then he'll bring his rook in, and then the other rook, and I'm just getting a bit crushed, a bit like in the first game, funny enough, but reversed. So I blocked that bishop off, and it makes his dark square bishop really good. But I'm like, no, that light square bishop, and he can obviously reroute it around. He can bring it up to f1 or maybe down to h3 at some point. But for now, the bishop's a little bit quiet. Good move. Attacks the g pawn, defend the g pawn. I actually had two options here. I could play also rook f7 here, which I had a fairly big think about this, and potentially this is a better defense because it's a bit more flexible. So I don't know. An active move would be to play f3 here because you've got a lot of pieces on this pawn. I take, he takes. Now, what did I didn't like? There was something I didn't like about this. At least that's pinned as well. But anyway, my point being, it gives me more options. Bishop out, perhaps. I don't know. Even here, like Adam's move, a4 would still be good. I'm not sure I would ever have played it because I didn't really think about it. It's an idea that I was given later, so I'm not going to claim that I saw that. But I was just constantly panicking about this, which is silly, really. That's why I put my bishop to f6 because I thought, well, I'll swap off this barrage, if you like, these laser beams, and I'll be okay. But maybe that was just the wrong thinking. Maybe I should have just happily put my rook on f7 and gone on with it. And I did consider it. I don't know. I think again, I I don't like this. I just don't. And I could see that I could contest it, so I went for that. And he happily swapped because he's in a strong position here. I have to take the queen, and he's got what we just discussed earlier. And my pieces don't have a lot of good squares. F3 is going to be coming, and you know, here I'm starting to panic. I definitely know it's gone wrong. So I defend the pawn. So now if he doubles up, I can move the bishop and I'll defend d6, which is what happened. But this, unfortunately, leads to a lot of annoying tactics that will happen here if the d pawn ever moves, because you drop your rook back to defend, he just takes it, you take, and what? There's another rook. Yippee! And you lose your bishop. It's all fine while your rook's sitting on c6, but what piece is attacking c6? Exactly. So I saw all this and I knew I was in big trouble, but I'm not giving up. That is the rule of Chess Patzer for this season. Not giving up while they're still kicking chances. Great move. I can't take the pawn because obviously I just said what happens on d8. I'm no longer defending the bishop. So I try and swap off one of his rooks because they're just killing me. And I make my bishop better. I know I'm losing pawns here. There's nothing I can do about it, to be honest. And I save the b pawn. I'm 2 clear pawns down here, and he's still in a very nice position. He's attacking my h7 pawn as well, so bringing the king over is awkward. But I'm showing this because of, you know, the new mentality of not giving up is what helped me through this game. He can't take now, whoops, because I think I just trapped his bishop, funny enough. Maybe he can get out of it. Maybe we can just play rook f4 here. So maybe that, yeah, but then maybe I can win this. Don't know. So he could have taken that pawn by looks of things. But seeing as he could take it the whole time, this is also a good plan what he came up with. It's just he didn't work it out tactically. He basically wants to stick his bishop here, and if the bishops come off, the pawn marches down the board, and I'm game over. E pawn goes down the board, I'm dead. I know I'm going fast on this one, but I appreciate the video is going to be fairly long otherwise. And whoops, here he just takes the pawn and it's game over. But that's the whole point of playing on, because your opponent can go wrong. And this seems like a really natural move. Unfortunately for my opponent, draw from here. And I saw that, and I saw him eyeing this square up, and that's why he played a5, so a4, sorry, which is why he followed through with his plan. And you know, I must say my heart was thumping a little bit when I saw that if he plays there, what's he going to do after this move? And I'm just going to move through this fairly quickly. I'm attacking the pawn, right? He can't defend that pawn in any way, shape or form. So he's trying to get his king active. I take the pawn. I'm only 1 pawn down now. I bring the rook back so you can't push the e pawn. Yeah, bring the king in. Okay, my king's in too. Pawn down. No, you're 1 move too slow. You can't play e5, so I'm going to win your d pawn too. King down. Win your d pawn. Dead level pawns. If the rooks come off, I win, because these 2 pawns will always beat this pawn, and my king can always look after this pawn. It doesn't like doing arrows like that, but okay. He can always look after this pawn. And so the king would have to chase over here. My king would munch these pawns, and I'd win. So we can't swap rooks, so I knew that. His king can't get active. He can't come in here, because I'm just going to check and check. So he can't go anywhere. As in, like, he'll just have to go back. So he goes back anyway, and then I just face off rooks, and I save the game. So, thanks for staying with the video. I hope you got to the end. Please like and subscribe. I only played on the Saturday for the Hampstead tournament because I was already playing a rapid play, and Hampstead was like a bonus couple of games. So I'm going to do a video on the BBCA Second International Rapid Play. It was a lot of fun. There's a lot of talking points. And I'll be uploading that one shortly. Just want to say again, thank you to Adam Ralph for organising Hampstead. He's a great guy. You should all play that competition. It's very good. Unless you're 2200 and above, in which case you're not going to play it. And it was great seeing Nick. Okay, thanks guys.